Hey, thanks for visiting Guardian. I'm so sorry that we're not able to help you at this time, but I wanted to share a few thoughts just as you're a smaller nonprofit or perhaps getting started on how to build your communications program. We've been doing this a long time and we've seen some best practices. I would start by trying to hire a freelancer or a part-time marketing person or even a full-time marketing person if you can afford it. Somebody who is actively advancing your brand day in, day out, even if it's in a limited way. You have to start somewhere and you can build upon this and this momentum. So hire a marketing or PR comms freelancer, or again, if you've got the budget to bring one in-house, even better, either on a part-time or full-time basis, who can just coordinate and, again, advance things for your brand and your storytelling. Next, I would get your foundation and the structure of your house, so to speak, set. A few things on that. I would start by getting your brand DNA set. So we think about vision, mission, value proposition, your brand personality, your distinctives, your brand promise, those things that really make up who you are and that really permeate through all your communication. So, you may need to bring in an outside consultant to do this, but get your brand DNA set, just the basics of who you are. Think about your brand identity, what you look like. This is your logo, your word mark, your colors, your fonts, just how you come across visually to people. Again, it's a foundational component. It's so important to get right from the outset. You don't want to have to go back and redo this very often. And so to go ahead and invest some money to get this set and to get a really strong looking brand. I think it communicates a lot when we see a well-designed brand. We know that somebody's put thought and time and money into that, or a poorly designed brand, it communicates something else. So spend a little bit of money. This is going to be with you for a long time, so get your brand set correctly. Think about messaging. Messaging has different purposes for different channels, but in essence, you want maybe one page of key messages about your organization. These are things that can be woven into social posts or web content or press releases or speeches you give, but just the real essentials of who you are and why somebody should care, what value you're delivering, what makes you unique and special. But work with somebody to get those built out. Again, it's a part of your foundation. It should permeate everything you do. Next, tactically, there's some things you can do that are either free or really low cost. First, get your GEO and SEO set. SEO, search engine optimization, so making sure that your website and content is getting ranked and showing up in search results. GEO is generative engine optimization, so it's really how you show up in AI, in the LLMs. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, are you showing up in those results? And more, that's really important as those take over a lot of the search landscape. So some of that is on-site or on your website optimizations, keywords, tags, content. Some of that is doing research off your site on keyword tools to figure out what's being talked about, who your competitors are, what the white space is. So if you have a little budget to hire somebody who's an expert in this space, that can be really helpful. But if nothing else, by doing a little Googling, a little tinkering on the back end, you can set up your SEO and GEO so you're best positioned to show up in results. I would think about social media, obviously. It's free or low cost. It is important to do well, and it's important to do consistently. It's tough when you go to a brand's social media page and they haven't posted in 3 months. That doesn't communicate the right thing. So you want somebody who can operate it, post a few times a week, if not more, but just so that you have an active social feed. So choose what platforms best match your brand and what you want to communicate and how often you can communicate. You may not want to pick TikTok if you can't do videos very often, but Instagram, Facebook, perhaps TikTok, LinkedIn, certainly important for thought leadership. YouTube, if you have video content, can be really helpful platforms. Again, just prioritize consistency. Make sure you're adding value through your posts and that you're being creative and inspirational and that you're giving somebody something of value when they're viewing that post. You're not just telling them what you want them to hear, but you're thinking about what they may need to hear. Think about your content program, particularly on your website. So do you have a blog? Do you have an area where you're posting relevant content for your audience or updates? This comes into play a lot with SEO and GEO, thinking about what keywords people are searching for and then making sure those are generally lining up with what you're posting about. and making sure that you have some pages on your website that are kind of the best pages on the internet for whatever that topic is or whatever unique space you inhabit. And so you've really given your reader, but also the AIs and the search engines, the right content to index and to show when somebody's looking for those specific keywords. Short form video. So this is mostly for social, that it could be for your website. Really powerful medium. People are really wanting to hear from a human in an authentic way. I think maybe it's because there's so much AI content and just so much content in general. We're all craving a sense of humanity. So getting your CEO or another spokesperson for your brand online in a consistent way and make them your brand personality. Have them do short form videos, answer questions about your brand, just get them online. Short form videos performing really well, and so that'll help your socials and perhaps help your website traffic as well. Think about Google Ad Grants. So for nonprofits, I believe it's about $10,000 a month. You can qualify for free Google Ads. So you may need to pay somebody to set this up for you or optimize it or run it, but it's a worthwhile investment and gives you, helps you leverage a free donation on behalf of Google. And then get an email program going. This is such a great medium to speak one-to-one to your constituents. So typically in a monthly fashion, send something out. Again, you're telling your story, you're telling what's important, you're also thinking about how to add value to them, what they may want to be reading about or hearing about or getting updated on. So think about both your audience and what you want to share. And then just make sure it's well done, looks great, is formatted properly, isn't too long, but just something that's engaging. It's great to just take note of what engages you on a day in, day out basis and what doesn't, and note best practices. With all your communications, I would encourage you to prioritize consistency and brand discipline. One, making sure you're posting, whether it's on social or your website, in just a consistent manner where people feel like there's somebody on the other end that's thinking about them, that's posting updates, that it's not a dead channel, so to speak. And then also making sure you have brand discipline. What's this mean? Well, it means that your logo looks the same, it looks professional across every page, every site, every social channel. Make sure that your key messages align. This is one of the biggest mistakes we see with small and large nonprofits is they have different versions of their logo on different channels and different messages, and it's just everybody's going every which way, and it creates a lot of brand confusion. What you're trying to do is get your constituents to hear the same message, to see the same visual over and over and over, because it really takes repetition, 5 to 7 times seeing the same message to really break through the noise and get something to stick. We're all so overloaded with communication. So make sure your brand looks really sharp, that it's consistent across channels, and go back to that key message sheet and make sure that those key messages, at least some of them, are woven into every communique so that somebody's hearing the same general heartbeat from your organization. We talked about making your CEO or spokesperson a brand personality. That's really important. Just in this day and age of humans wanting to connect with humans. I think it'll become even more so as AI takes over. But speaking of AI, it's such a great tool. It can be so helpful at every level. But even folks with not a lot of budget or few staff or even not a lot of experience can multiply their efforts through AI. So, it's ideal that you have somebody that knows what they want at the end of the day, so they have experience, so they know how to prompt it and then how to evaluate the results. But AI is really great, and so even if you have limited experience, you can still work with AI, and the combination can get you some great results to start from. And then as you get more budget and you can hire more professionals, that use of AI will just multiply. In your communications, I think about standing out. What's unique to you? What can you speak on that perhaps nobody else can speak on? Make sure you highlight that. That's really your market space. That's your distinct advantage, a distinctive of your organization. Think about perhaps you want to be a little provocative, not to pick fights, but just in order to stand out. What's your brand personality? Who do you want to be? But you've got to think about breaking through the noise. Everybody, again, including you, we're all getting so many messages in. You've got to do something that's unique, creative, provocative, just something that inspires, that breaks through all these other messages. So think about what's unique to you, what your brand personality is, how you can leverage that to help break through the noise. In all your communications, think about value adds. Again, how are you delivering value to your reader or your listener? That needs to be married, of course, with your mission and vision. So you want to be telling them about you, your stories, what your mission, vision, and heart is, but you also want to think about them. What are they interested in learning about, reading about, getting inspired by, and try to match those two things so that both your needs are served and their needs are served. Think about events. If you have the budget, there's just nothing like bringing a brand to life through an event. Being there in person, meeting other fellow donors or interested parties in your organization, meeting the staff, meeting the leadership, just seeing, feeling, hearing the brand in person. It's a really powerful experience. So if you have the budget, think about doing that. I'd also think about doing influencer marketing. Creators and influencers have become such an important channel to tell your message. Now, influencers and creators can incur cost. They typically are paid. But in the nonprofit space, sometimes they will give you a break or maybe even do it for free because they align with your mission and your values. So perhaps you can get one to do it for free, or in exchange for some free swag or a book or a free event ticket, or even special access to something. So think creatively about what you could give them that might be valuable to either lower their price or maybe even get them to do it for free. And then think about finding a handful, 1, 2, 3, up to 5 influencers that you can partner with on a month in, month out basis. Yes, it's great to get one post from an influencer, and that can generate some traffic, but you really see momentum really in all of communications when you do month in, month out campaigns that really build upon themselves and build momentum. Communications is a long game. It does take time. Press. Let's talk about earned media. So often people think about that when they think about PR and communications. It is a really powerful channel, but it does require expertise, and it's a long-term play. And so it's great to get a news story. Typically, one news story won't move the needle a lot for your organization, though you can print it or send it to donors. That's always a great thing if it's a good article. But I would save this till you have more budget. Again, it does require some professional expertise to know how to work with media. There are some tips and tricks. And then it's just a long-term play. You need to be doing it month in, month out. So if you have somebody that can send out a press release for you, or you have a really big announcement going on, sure, take a crack at it. But I wouldn't put a lot of eggs in that basket right now, though it'll be an important channel later on. Finally, as you get budget, I would think about hiring an outside firm, agency, group of folks, more than just a single freelancer. They can support your team, support your brand. They have typically deep experience, deep benches. They can really help take you to the next level. Think about all your communications channels and how they're working together. If only just for strategy and reporting, they can be really helpful. Or give them one channel to manage. Give them earned media, or give them paid, or give them social, and then build from there. They can be a really helpful outside, third-party, objective counselor to your brand journey or communications journey. I hope this is helpful. Please stay in touch, and we would love to work together in the future. Thanks so much.